Hi, I'm Keith, taking my glasses off so there's no glare. I am a sci-fi fantasy artist from Nebraska. That's the capital of sci-fi fantasy artwork in the world. And right here, I have a Dino dragon. On paper, I did with ink wash and pencil, and this one is 5 out of 5 stars. I got a video coming up here to show you how I did this. If you could subscribe, leave me some comments, good or bad, I don't care. I'd appreciate it. If you want to learn something, you're going to learn something. If you just want to be entertained, then stay tuned. This Dino Dragon is one of a series of 3 or 4 I've done recently. A couple of them were kind of iffy looking. One of them was just absolutely fantastic. I left it at black and white. If you want to go back and look for it, I would recommend that. Here I am sketching out my my Dino Dragon with a 2B pencil. I'm just trying to get the basic shapes down. I do have a reference off screen. You can't see it, but I'm kind of using that as a guideline. So I'm getting my basic shapes down. I do a lot of, if you follow my page, you know I do a lot of these monsters. Now, I kind of need to expand my horizons a bit, but this is good practice for me to keep my skills sharp as far as freehanding goes. I have no problem using a projector. I find a projector to be actually a good tool. Oh, here I am using my 8B as in boy pencil to get my thick outlines. I use this, it kind of mimics the look of an ink pen that they use in comic book art. Sometimes I will use an ink pen, but I find I have more control over the pencil than I do the brush. Although after I get this all drawn in, I use the brush a lot, and that was something else I was trying to work on here, was getting my brush strokes down, because sometimes I tend to overdo it. And in this picture, I do a lot of work to get some scales and get some texture in here. I think texture is the theme of this, and the whole series was texture. Because I go through, and right here I'm putting contour lines in. And these contour lines help me get my shapes down. It also helps me get my scales down, because it gets me my scales in the right areas, and it makes them look more natural. So I'm going through, I'm thickening up my lines, I'm mimicking that comic book look, which I love, the thick outlines, and I'm going through getting my contours down, trying to, I don't want to say I want this to be busy looking, but I want it to look like it's something I worked on, like it has some interest to it. So I'm putting more contour lines in, and eventually here I'm going to pull my 2B pencil out again, working on the lower jaw here, getting that little, I don't know what that thing's called, it connects the top and lower jaw. All the dinosaurs and dragons have them, and it's kind of a neat little thing. So I'm connecting my contour lines up here, and right here, my 2B pencil, I go through and I add all of these scales. And the scales, to me, I want those to show through the paint. So I intentionally worked to make sure that my paint wasn't too dark. I wanted this to be like a little gloss, or what's the other word for it, where you just want to glaze. I wanted to glaze over it so you could see everything through it. Because the pencil lines I work on, I want those to show up, because I want all that contour, I want all that busy stuff, texture to show up through the paint. And I also, once the paint's done, I also go through and I add more, because I do highlights on top of that. So the trick with this particular picture was I wanted to make sure the eye was done correctly. On the last one, I did not like the way the eye turned out, so I kind of looked around and I did some studying and I had some ideas, and I worked on the eye, and the eye on this one came out much, much, much better. It looks more evil. I wanted to have the evil looking dinosaur. Now, I based this off of, I can't even remember what kind of dinosaur it was. I just kind of Googled it. But at the back of the head, I add these little horns. And by the jaw, I add little horns, or spikes. And that is my dragon. So I'm turning my dinosaur into a dragon. And you can see right there, I darkened the eye in. And that was the trick that fixed the picture. I needed for the eye to be dark. And I wanted the pupil, but the iris to be like white. Make it look like a ghoul or a zombie or something. This is my zombie dinosaur slash raptor slash monster dragon. So ink wash. If you follow my page, you know I love ink wash. I think it's one of the coolest and easiest and best looking ways to shade anything. And I'm using multimedia paper here, but I use ink wash also when I do my acrylic paintings. If you go back through my playlist, I have a whole bunch of acrylic paintings. But I don't use ink wash on there. I use thinned down acrylic paint because ink wash will lift off of a canvas if you get it wet. But on the paper like this, generally it won't lift off. So I love ink. I love the way it looks. I love the way it dries. I'm used to using ink wash because I studied it when I was in my youth with Mad Magazine, because one of the artists I followed back in those days used ink wash a lot, and I guess I could say I taught myself how to do it by watching and observing what he did. But I don't know if ink wash is something they teach in school or anybody actually learns. It's basically watercolor without the color, and what it allows you to do is get all of your shading done and your values ahead of time. So when you go to put your color on in the glaze, it's already done. There's a word for this. It's like grisale or something. It's a long-term art style. It's been used for years and years and years, and I don't know if people still use it or not. So here, I'm adding some color, and I make sure this was thinned down. I did not want to cover up all of my texture. I want to make sure it shined through. So I started off with some yellow, and I went with some green, and I didn't want it to be too dark or too thick. I just wanted it to be there. I just wanted to colorize it. I know on today's you can go on a computer and colorize things, but I still like the feel of a brush in my hand. I'm old school, really old school. If I told you how old I am, you wouldn't believe it. But I learned this technique, I don't know, probably back in art school. I went to the university back in the day. I was going to be an art teacher. Didn't really pan out. I ended up being a nurse. I've been a nurse for a long time. But anyway, back to my painting. I add the red in that little skin flap, adding some red to that little crest, because I wanted to make sure that I have the colors go through the painting so it's not just in one spot. There's a word for that. I wanted to show up in different places. So the crest has some red. The mouth has some red. There's some red in the neck. Right now, I think I'm putting in some highlights. Yes, highlights, and that is the trick. Once you get your basic colors down, the highlights make it pop, pop, pop. And I was trying to not bury my texture under my highlights. I was trying to be very sparing with it, and I think I did a good job. I was kind of sparing with it. Last painting I did, I buried all my highlights, and I was so upset with it that I actually edited the video so the ending was not there, so you couldn't see me ruin it. But this painting, I think the highlights turned out very well, because you want that's what makes your painting worth money. The painting's worth 50 cents until you get your highlights put in. And then once you get your eye shine put in, I don't know if I had eye shine in this one because the iris was white, and I put a tiny little pupil with a pencil in there. So there's no eye shine in this one. Here it is. I just put that eyeball in there, and that makes this thing look like a monster. It makes it look really creepy, like he's a ghost. That's the look I was going for. So I was much more happier with the way this painting turned out because of the way the eye turned out. The eye, the eye is the window to the soul, and the window to the soul in this dinosaur looks awesome. I can see myself, tearing this out of this binder, this folder, and maybe getting a frame and hanging this up in my living room. Or if you want it in your living room, just send me a message and make me an offer, and I will sell it to you. I will sell this painting to you. I have the PayPal. My wife has the Venmo, and just make me an offer how much you think it's worth. I know what I think it's worth, but selling art's tough, because there's so many people out there doing this, and everybody thinks they're good at it. And I don't know if I'm any good at it. I'm not going to say one way or the other. I'll let you be the judge of whether or not you think this is good. But right now I am going into my I had this pool of used paint or washes. I just wanted to use it up. So I just started dipping into this hodgepodge of what it was kind of a gray and other colors kind of mixed together. And it wasn't too dark, but it was enough just to give me some something in the background, just something. I just want to have something. So this is just basically the garbage can of what was left over that I'm putting in here. And it doesn't look too bad. You know, mix a little bit of green here, a little bit of red here, and it looks pretty good. It adds to the value of the painting. So it went from, you know, whatever you thought it was worth, now it's worth twice as much. So now I'm drawing in some trees. And I'm doing a very light sketch with my 8B. I wasn't trying to overdo it. I just want to have something in the background that, you know, I didn't know if the painting against white would be good enough, but I thought, hey, I'll just do a simple background. And so I drew it in, got a little bit more ink in my inkwell, and went in and added some little, I don't know what this is, tree branches, leaves, birds, I don't know what it is. But it's something in the background to add some interest to the painting. It probably added some more value to it, so you can add some more dollars when you make me an offer, add some more to it. So I'm getting towards the end here. I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. I could use about 10,000 more, and I do appreciate you for showing up. Thank you.